Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming to the session. My name is Yvonne Chi. 我的名字是季韵之，谢谢大家来参加这一次的活动。然后呢，我今天要讲的题目呢是 Language through Digital Gaming. So that's my topic for today. Okay, so just as while you people are coming in and also by way of introduction, we are obviously talking about digital gaming today. And as you can see from the slide, there are quite a lot of games in the background. Not sure if you can recognize any of those, as I might mention some of them. So stay tuned. A technical issue. Let me reshare this. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. We're back in business. Okay, so you've had some time to think about digital gaming. Great. Okay, as a way of starting, I'm just going to give you a little bit of introduction. So on the heading, it says 您哪位? Nobody knows about me. Who the hell are you? So I'm an addict, yes, a gamer. And I started off by playing, well, when I was young, I played a lot of computer games, but then I stopped for a while and then I got introduced to board games. Which then introduced me to learning German. So I went to this convention and it's in Germany, and I really liked it. And some of my friends actually go every year. And I thought, what would be a great idea if I come back next time? I can speak some German. I can sit at the German table. I can play with the Germans. I can, be exposed to German games. Because as English speakers, when you go there, you don't get that chance. So that's how I, stumbled into this language community. And yes, then Corona hit, and therefore I moved back to computer games. But having said that, being so entrenched in both communities, I thought it would be a great idea to give some talks on what I've learned from this whole experience. So last year, 2021, at the Polyglot conference, I decided at the spirit of the moment, let me give a talk, and I ended up actually giving two. So the one is about learning languages or not, playing games. And there I gave quite a bit of strategy or behind the thinking behind how to select games and what kind of benefit you could get from doing it this way, other than the conventional way of learning from books, learning from teachers. So if you want, you can have a look at that. I believe they recorded the session, but it will only be published in the Saturn Theatre at a much later stage and possibly be uploaded onto YouTube. I'm not entirely sure. The other one I gave was Mandarin Chinese, which has nothing to do with what we are doing today. However, having said that, I will have some Chinese drizzled into my presentation just as a bonus for those of you who are interested. Speaking of which, I want to just explain my expectation when I filled in the application was that I would probably have separate sessions dedicated to English and dedicated to Chinese. However, obviously time is of essence, so I've only got one session and I better use the best of it. 所以就买一送一，这一次就会有一点英文，有一点中文，那大家就please bear with me. But still, I think the majority of the time I will be speaking English, and I'll just drizzle some Chinese in just for the taste of it. Okay, great. Now that we've got that out of the way, so what to expect in this session? Basically, I've given you some context already. I will give you a little bit more just so you have some reference point and background thinking before we get into the actual meat of the presentation, because I believe everybody is here because they want to have fun and they want to see how it's done and whether it actually works. So I'm going to give you some video demonstrations of how it actually is done. I got a couple of games lined up for you. So please don't go away. And then at the end, to close off, I'll give you some takeaway so that you can hopefully have some fun in the same way that I did, or maybe your own way as well. Okay, so to continue with the context, why do we want to use this methodology? Is it not enough to just use books, to just have standard teachers to learn languages? Well, the way I see it is I'm an addict gamer. So my time is supposedly more dedicated to games, right? But at the same time, in order to achieve my original goal, I need to dedicate some time into learning the language. Otherwise, I would never go back to that convention, like how I planned it to be. So with the limited time, which is a resource, I need to do this strategically. And as I did it, I realized that it's actually a very good way of doing it, because you are then exposed to the fun part of it. So it feels less as a work. But also, most importantly, you're exposed to vocabularies and situations that you would never otherwise be exposed to if you do the conventional way of learning. Okay, so here on the screen I have two practical reasons that I think can demonstrate my point. So on the left, 学生问老师德文的 ch 怎么发音，那老师就做了这个动作，然后就发了那个音。So can anybody kind of, if you don't know Chinese, can you guess what this ch, how it is pronounced and which language is it? Might be obvious for those who know Germanic language. So the question is German, of course, because I'm learning German. And the student asked how to make the ch sound in German, and the teacher did right. So kind of like from doing this, you are reinforcing your memory. You are exposed to facial cues, sound cues that would otherwise be very boring and more difficult to remember. Okay. The other is to be exposed in live situation, and gaming is kind of like a simulator. So here I just want to show you a funny video, just for the fun of it. And what I wanted to demonstrate over there, and I hope the video played well, is basically to say, if I told you that you have to be respectful to your elderly, and kind of, at least, even if it's not about the elderly, even if it's just being in queue with other people, this is, looking at this video is much more powerful for you to remember. And I think digital gaming kind of does that. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next point, and that is my disclaimers. Why do I need disclaimers? Because when probably the reason why you're here is you want to have fun, and fun, I just want to demonstrate my point, is to align your expectations. Okay, so this reads, 当老师把这个大家伙推进来的时候，你就知道今天上课会很好玩。So this big thing comes into the classroom, and you know that today's lesson is going to be fun. That's one kind of fun, right? And that's kind of your expectation. And then on the left-hand side, you have fun times, which, to maybe a lot of us who are supposedly normal and who don't really want to admit it, making fire is fun. Maybe that's why people have fireplaces in their house, I'm just saying. But the point is, everybody's definition of fun, 觉得有趣好玩，这个 this concept is different for everybody, okay? And everybody's expectation is created differently. And I think we need to also remember that games are also created differently as well. So you can't expect that every game is going to be suitable for certain purposes. Gaming is used a lot to demonstrate points, obviously to just simply have fun, but also it's used a lot in educational situations. And I think we need to realize that, yes, we talk about gamifying, yes, we talk about game making things easier, but you need to align your expectations and you need to understand that not all games are suitable for this kind of purposes. And the kind of things that games can teach you, each game is different, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate to you, hopefully, clearly enough so that you can see for yourself what you can learn from each type of games and how you can utilize it to your best advantage. Okay, great. I hope everybody's still with me since I can't really see the live environment. Yeah, okay. Great. Here comes the meat, and this is the first game that I'm going to demonstrate. This is not a video. This is simply a screenshot of what I went and did on the computer. This is a board game that was played on online simulator. Okay, and these kind of simulators, what it is you if you think about board games or tabletop games, you have a table and all the players are sitting there physically, and you have these board game pieces on the table, and you get to use your hand to move the pieces around, and you can talk to each other, explain rules, and as you move the pieces, then the game advances, right? So what the simulator does is everything is basically, the concept is basically the same, but it's moved to an online environment. So here what you're seeing is that the gray area is supposedly the table, and you have these different players. So I am yellow, and here are my board and pieces, and there's my hand. So I can use my hand, which is the mouse, to grab hold or click on things and drag them or move them in the physical terms across the table onto the main board or onto wherever, right? Other parts of the table. And there sits supposedly next to me is the green player with his board. Okay, the green player is on top, but he's basically sitting there. And then the blue player is Cosmos. So for those of you who play board games, you might know this is the very famous publisher based in Germany, but published all sorts of games around the world. And this was the moderator who was basically explaining the game with us and sitting at the table, being a part of the player with us. And then there's the red player. So there were 4 of us at the simulated table. And what happened here was, as I explained to you, I wanted to learn German so that I could play board games with German speakers. And Corona hit, and so I moved to the online environment because, especially with board games where you are sitting at a table close to each other and you physically have to use a hand to touch the pieces and move them around, that I found a bit uncomfortable in times of Corona, right? So I went online instead. And obviously the Spiel Essen, which is one of the world's famous convention, which I wanted to go, also moved their event online that year, 2020. And so they had all sorts of games demonstrated there. And I managed to find a German table. So this was really like a real life test for me. It's more thrilling, more exciting, more terrifying, traumatizing, all of those emotions for me than for example, a Goethe Institute language test, right? Because this really was it. I had to use my limited German knowledge to make sure that I understand what is happening at the table, where all other players and the moderator were talking in German. They were very, very nice to me. I explained up front that, I am learning German. My German is not great, but I managed to understand about 70-80% of the game. And I didn't do a lot of homework beforehand, so I didn't know the rules beforehand. But also, I think I compensated a little bit from my experience being a very experienced board game player. So a lot of the rules I could kind of pick up very quickly. As soon as I understand a couple of words, I can get it. But I understood quite a lot, to my surprise. And so this for me was more about participation and listening to other people's interaction. And hopefully, if I had any questions, I managed to make sentences from broken German a little bit. And also sometimes if I really need to, I cheated, I used a little bit of English. But there you go. So real life situation, this is board game, obviously not digital game like I promised, but let's start there, right? And hopefully I'll end there as my goal. So this is Anno 1800. It's a very famous computer game, city building computer game, and this was 2020 release. So it was released that year and turned into a board game. So this was very exciting for me. And what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is, yes, board games can also be used for language learning. But again, it circles back to the fact that you have to make sure your expectations and your level of language needs to kind of match. So if I only had like a A1 level, like hello, how are you, then introduce myself, and that wouldn't have been enough, right? So that's something to bear in mind. But it does work, and you get to learn quite a bit of vocabulary as well. Okay, so the next game, and I hope I don't run out of time. The next game that I'm going to demonstrate is a digital game, and this was one of the early games I started to use for language learning specifically, and obviously for German. And what it is, it's a point and click and point game. So what it is you have your mouse, and you would use your mouse as pointer, and you would click on items and things would happen. So almost like a interactive comic book, if you want to call it that. So I'm just going to play the video.
It never ends, does it? Okay, then. Let's see what's wrong with this thing.
Okay, so basically, this guy is trying to figure out what's wrong, and that was a video scene, but you can see that the mouse is now moving. You are trying to figure out where can you click, where can you go. Okay. 我们现在找到那个要做的事情，然后我们按了那个钮，然后就点进去。Okay, so he found the problem.
The belt tour. Where can I get a new one?
Okay, so now again, the computer game is giving you little cues of what happens next.
This one's finished. This one's finished.
Now, notice that.
Maybe.
Just want to stop there. Notice that the person playing it clicked on the same thing twice, and this one's broken. So the computer game doesn't know that you are practicing language. So every time you click on the same thing, it's just going to give you like the same kind of response. So for a native speaker, that might be boring, but can you see that this is a perfect opportunity for a language learner? You can click on the same thing. You are literally interacting with your environment, and you're getting feedback or response immediately. Okay, let's see what's going to happen next.
Still be fixed.
Okay, so he took the rope and he realized that this can be fixed. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, so at the bottom, you found the belt.
Oh well, it's worth a try.
And you could have the option to tie the ends together. So that's what the player did.
Not sure that will hold.
Okay, then we put the the belt over back to the place.
That's it. The belt tore again. There's no help for it. I need to replace it.
OK， 所以这一次呢没有成功，但是呢你能够理解说这个你在这个里面你其实有很多东西可以做。
Sit under that tree in the summer and read a book. It's a pity I have to chop it down. It will be a cold winter.
Okay, so literally you can see that your mouse can go to the tree, for example, and because it's such a slow pace, here what I obviously played this whole game in German. I'm just showing you a demonstration in English so you can see it. But really, because the pace was so slow and it had the name of every single item, I could kind of go at my own pace. I could look up words that I didn't understand, and I could click on the same item if I wanted to again and again and again until I'm happy with it. But at the same time, what makes it fun is that I am going along the story. So I'm living the story, but I'm getting exposure to a language, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay. All right, so this one is Heinrich, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This game is a very unique and special game, and this I played also as one of the first language practices games. I will just show you the game, and you will most likely understand what's going on without me explaining it. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it there. So as you can see, there are words written on the ground. Okay, on the ground that this guy is running on, and walking over a bridge of words. So as he walks over these things, he can actually activate individual words and get actions out of it, get items, get actions out of it. For example, over here, but had to carefully avoid gaps. And then remember when he walked over here, there was a command to say that press space bar to jump. He didn't jump and he fell through the gaps. So it's very interactive, and this game I obviously played in German. It works very well. I picked up a couple of very nice vocabs, and also this game actually you can play in multiple different languages. The game before that also you have options to have a different language for audio versus the subtitle, the writings. And this game, there's no speaking, so you can just have options for different languages. I sent a copy to my friend because she's learning Spanish. I'm not sure if this one has Chinese, but there are a couple of different options. Okay, I'm a bit tight with time, so I'm just going to move on to the next game because I have so much to show you. Okay, so this game, I am currently playing it. I haven't managed to beat it. I like to beat my games before I move on to something else. I don't like to have them hanging kind of unfinished, or at least close to. Like I can see the ending and I'm like, okay, this is too hard. I can't finish it, but it's fine. You know, I've got to kind of the end. So this game, I'm in the middle of it. It's a typing game, so you type, but the difficult part is you type as you have to use part of the keyboard to move your character. People in the audience, please take a look at what language this is actually in. And there's no choice of languages here in this game. There's only English and this other language that this guy is typing.
No.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stop there because of time. But did anybody guess what language this is? And also, if you look at the title, it's called textosist. So, can you guess what we're trying to do here? So it's kind of exorcist, and therefore the language here is Latin. And so as you are busy typing, you kind of getting used to the spelling of words. I played another game, which I'm not demonstrating here because I didn't want to repeat the same type of games. This other game it was also a typing game, and it was in German, and I used that game to learn how to type because I changed the keyboard software, the built-in keyboard software, so that I could have the German characters, and they were sitting at funny places where my pinky needed to stretch. But obviously that game helped me to get more used to it. Like, for example, the Z and the Y swapped on those keyboards. So that's one way you could use games to learn stuff, not just languages, but also typing. Okay, the next one. 所以我 promise 了，我跟你们保证说我会放一些中文，但是我发现我现在没有讲很多中文到现在，所以这一个呢是中文的视频。Okay, so this one, for those of you who don't understand Chinese, I'm going to give you a couple of vocabs and see if you can pick that up and see how it is kind of easy in a way to pick up vocab. So 盘子 guess what that is? It's plate, okay? 番茄还有生菜 okay? And then lastly, what is hurry? You can try to figure that out. I'm just going to quickly play this. Okay, great. So this game is called Overcooked. So what it is you have each player controls one of these moving characters, and you're kind of in a kitchen, and you need to get your dishes out, and the dishes are dictated in a specific order, and you have to make those combinations. And so 盘子 you need to have plate, you need the salad, okay, 青菜, and you need the tomato. So and 快 means hurry. So 快 hurry. So this one is more special. This one you need player interaction, whereas the previous games you can literally play on your own and play at your own pace. Okay, I am just hanging there. I'm very close to the end of my talk. I realize my time is slowly coming to an end. Okay, so great. So you've survived my presentation thus far. I have to give you something away. I hope you've already learned something, but I am going to summarize the important things I have learned from using this method to learn language. Okay. So we all know this cat. I had fun once. It was awful. So again, I think this just speaks to the point that you need to align your expectation of using this method. It doesn't just magically work, the same as all other methods that you probably have already tried, like a million of them, to learn languages. You need to align your expectations, and you need to understand what you're trying to do, and you need to look at it more critically and strategically, what you're trying to get out of it, and not just any games will work. Okay. Right. So so the main thing here are the key things, I would say, are the things in English in the red for me. So number one is 如果你的期望没有办法达到你的希望的时候，那你就很容易会失望。So that is basically about expectations, right? So you need to align your expectations. I've repeated that over and over. Okay, so don't just expect this method to work magically. You do need to put in work. You do need to do some research on the type of game that is suitable for your level of language, for the pace that you're comfortable at. Everybody is different. So think about that first, okay? The other thing is priority. So what I mean by that is 你如果要做这件事情，那你就要想清楚，你到底是为了打电动去做这件事情，还是为了学语言，还是为了两个都要？你的时间应该放在哪一边？ So the priority means you need to, like for example, I'm not just playing games. I need to actually pause the game to put in some hours for language. So I am kind of doing some language, I'm kind of doing some game, doing some language, doing some game. I need to use dictionaries to look up words that I don't understand, or maybe just make sure that I click on the same thing like over and over to help me remember it. So priority means if you just focus on the gaming part, then you're not gonna get any learning done. You're not gonna get any inputs at all because you just closing your brain off to focus on the gaming, to just have fun. Then in that case, you're not doing learning. So you need to prioritize, you need to commit. If you're learning using this method to learn language, then learn language. Yeah, is what I'm saying. Okay, but still have fun, of course. That's very important. And then maximize. So 最大化的意思就是说，我除了在玩游戏的时候，我可以学到语言之外，我可以当我在找游戏的时间，我就可以用我需要的语言去做这件事情。So what it means is when I'm doing my research, when I'm finding a new game that I think would be suitable, there are games actually I don't even use for language learning and I just play them for fun. But when I'm doing the research, when I'm doing my strategy, I need to maximize. I need to, when I do the research, I could already use German reviews to do that, right? That's what I mean by maximize. Use every opportunity, look at the forums on Facebook and Reddit and so on. Okay, so the couple of key things. Fun is number one, no doubt about that. If it's not fun, then you might as well be studying a textbook. You might as well be sitting in a classroom or have language exchange or doing maybe even Duolingo, which is not designed as a commercial game. It's more designed as, geared towards learning rather than gaming. It's gamified, but it's not a real game, which I've showed you now. They were not designed for language learning. They were designed to have fun. So fun is number one thing. And you know what is fun for you. What is fun for you is maybe not fun for me. And these type of games that I've showed you, RPG games, which I haven't shown here, is also very suitable for this exercise. But is it fun for you? Like point and click, is that fun for you? It's not really fun for me. Like I'm using it. But if it's not fun enough, then I will stop doing it. And then that kind of defeats everything else is out of the window, right? No point. The next thing is language exposure. So I talked about that already. The pace, very important. Can you stop the game? Or are you just shooting and you can't stop and people are shouting at you in this foreign language you don't even understand? So pace, very important. Can you control it? Level of active versus passive engagement. So what I mean by that is, are you being exposed passively, or do you have to type? Do you have to put in the effort? The quality of the language. Maybe it's only street language. Do you want to learn that? Is that what you want to learn? Maybe it's technical stuff. Your computer hardware requirement, that's also important because then you can't run the game. And then obviously, how long is the game? Do you want to be like me who would prefer to finish the game and then move on to something else? Do you need that fulfillment? That's important, right? So my last slide, okay, promise. I know everybody's dying to ask me questions. So are you ready to play? So then in that case, my tip is, look at me, I'm the boss now. No, I'm kidding. You probably all seen this guy. So it's not me who dictates to you what games you should play. And it is not just my opinion you should listen to. It is you. So it's you. So you are the boss, right? 你现在就是老大了，就是你。So you are in control, and you need to decide what's fun for you. You need to decide what is the right game for you, and whether this method will work for you. Thank you very much. That's it. I hopefully I'm not delayed, and that I'm still online. You can follow me at Evolution on Instagram, where I used to do sort of mini reviews on board games. I haven't posted there in a while, but hopefully in the future I will again and post there with all of these reviews that I really want to do. I'm also preparing a YouTube channel for that. And then, yeah, and then if you want to reach out to me, you can write to me on there. Great. Do we have any comments, any questions? Okay, I see something. Let me just bring this over. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Sorry. Right, let's see. Would you be interested in creating a visual novel polyglot game with a bunch of us from the audience? Yeah, sounds interesting. Bring it on. Tell me what to do. Yeah, reach out to me. Write to me. Okay, next one. Is the German game development studio Diadolik, which I can never pronounce, but yes, they're very famous for their German-speaking games, who created A New Beginning. Yes, that's their game, and so much more. Your favorite game development studio? 您喜欢和推荐哪些其他游戏开发工作室? That's a very good question, and it took me a while to find this publisher. And I've literally got a ton of their point and click games. I think, in my opinion, although I'm not a fan of point and click type of games because the puzzles I can never solve, I'm kind of stupid. But I find that their games are most suitable for language learning. And the most important thing I find is the pace. So like you hopefully demonstrated nicely earlier on, you can pause the game. You have time to look up words to help you maximize your language learning. You can click on the same part. You can really interact with your environment. And then it's because it's a graphic novel, you can kind of develop the story and going really further. So I would definitely say that they are my favorite game development studio. And obviously, for me, the deciding factor is that they produce a lot of German content. So for me, it's very difficult to find German speaking, so where I can hear the sound, the speaking, German speaking games. Most of them are available only in the writing, so no listening. So that's very important. So yes, they're definitely the favorite one. What else would I recommend? I think because I haven't looked at any other languages, so I do know that for Japanese, for example, a lot of these Japanese RPGs, they have nice speaking dub, and in the writing, and RPG games have great pace as well. So if you're learning Japanese, then definitely go for that. But I don't know which developer are there out there, but there are a ton of them. There's some Chinese ones as well. The other languages I can't say, but I know that the Dalit does do for other languages as well, like Spanish, a couple of European languages. So have a look at that, and then, like I said, when you do the research, you're already in this process. Check on Reddit. You'll find a lot of nice information there. Okay, the next one, or if there are, can you give some tips on genres that are the most fun to play for a gamer to learn? What kind of phrases do you learn in these? Okay, that's again a very good question. So I find that each game I'm learning different things. Different genre give me different vocabulary. and different games, the way it's written, the language is written is also differently. So I don't know if you can still see my screen, but Hades, for example, is a very famous roguelike kind of. It's not a platformer because it's top-down view. Not really a dungeon crawler either, but it's like almost a bit of um, hit and smash kind of thing, but it's very strategic as well. So that game, for example, won the one of those literature prizes, okay, for best written computer game story, and obviously literature prize. So you can imagine the level of language it uses, and I play in German, and so the German language is also very, very good, and it's a Greek theme, so you get exposure to a lot of Greek mythology kind of vocabulary. The names of these gods and goddesses and how they call each other and what happened, the whole story. I actually asked my language exchange friend to verify that the language is good for me, because it's not written as the normal sort of modern German. It had whoever translated it did a brilliant work to make sure that it uses a lot of those Greek references. So and that was very fun for me to play, because I would say that was almost my favorite for learning language, because I could have a session, a time slot where I'm just learning heavy text. Okay, I'm just reading heavy text, and I have time to go use my dictionary and so on. And then now I'm into the dungeon, or into hell, Hades hell, and I'm just fighting. So my brain can kind of switch off a little bit, and then in between there may be a few lines, and then so I can pace myself like that. So that was very fun for me. Any tips? To be honest with you, what you are currently playing already, just think about it. Probably already work for you, right? But you just have to think about the pace and how much language exposure are you really getting. If you're just playing those point and shoot games, then can you find partners, live partners who can actually online partners, that is, who can actually speak to you in German, or shout at you in German. Yeah, so the phrases is very much dependent on the game itself. Okay, next one. I am a complete beginner at games. I am most interested in sci-fi and fantasy. Can you make some recommendations for games to learn language? I would say definitely start off with the one that I showed. So A New Beginning. Have a look at that. Have a look at the Diadolik games. They have a wide range of things, and some of it is Wi-Fi and fantasy. Very big on fantasy. I think they've even got the adaptation of the book. What is it? Pillar of the Earth. I know that is not fantasy, but the way they've made it, if you look at it, it could be a fantasy. Yeah, it's maybe not the same fantasy you have in mind, but just have a look at that. Yeah. Any other? Yeah, sure. The moderator is just asking if we can end a few minutes later. Sorry about that. We still have 2 more questions to answer. So which Chinese game studios or games would you recommend for someone around HSK 3 level? Okay, so number 1 is I'm not a language teacher, although I could be, I guess, but I'm not doing it as a profession. So I'm not entirely sure what is HSK3. I can't even get that right. Like what level that is exactly. But what I would say is, when you do your research, go onto YouTube, have a look at other people playing the game, right? So if you come across a game and you think is a potential, you think it looks fun for you, go onto YouTube or go onto Twitch, okay? Have a look at other people playing the game in the target language you are learning or in the language you understand, and imagine yourself playing it. Would you be able to follow that? If you can kind of follow it, then great. If you are finding it a little bit difficult, then maybe give it a try. Because you do want to stretch yourself a little bit. You want to learn something, and if you're uh, not if you're fully understanding everything, then maybe you're not able to learn anything. That's what I'm saying. So you want to be able to follow what is happening, but maybe a few words that you don't understand. Then that's kind of the right level. I hope that answered your question. Okay, next one. What do you think of the potential of role-playing theatrical games like Judicial for language learning, learning languages? So I must apologize. I don't know this game, but I'm assuming that it's maybe like a. But I mean, you said it's a role-playing theatrical game. So yes, generally speaking, role-playing games are great because you are supposedly immersed in this world, in this environment, and generally you're able to interact with either the computer characters, the NPC, or other players, okay? Which means you will be able to get direct feedback of your actions. And that's generally great. And also role-playing games, they tend to have little conversation boxes, and those tend to stay on the screen until you click again or until you do something again, which means the pace is good for you. You can stop to get dictionary, but also it's not like it's going over your head before you can even read what's going on, and it's gone. So those generally are great. Okay, any others? Okay, that's it. Great. Thank you, everybody. I hope this was fun for you. And thanks so much for coming to the session and asking all these wonderful questions. I hope you have fun, most importantly. Even if you're just learning one word, I think it helps because having fun means time is not wasted, hopefully. But remember why you're doing this. Make sure you find the right game for yourself, and follow me on Instagram or drop me a line if you have any other questions. And hopefully I will announce my YouTube channel at some stage. Great. Thank you. Have a great gathering.